I used to think being debt-free was the goal. No mortgage, no car payment, no student loans, nothing at all, no debt. I thought I could just wake up one day with zero payments and I'd finally be wealthy. But then I noticed something that completely messed with my brain. Almost every wealthy person I was studying had debt, not because they couldn't afford to pay cash, because they chose not to. So now I'm confused because if debt is what keeps people broke, why do rich people keep choosing it? That question completely changed how I think about money because I realized something. Debt doesn't make people poor. What they buy with the debt does. And those are two completely different conversations. So let me explain. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is putting all debt into one category. We hear the word debt and immediately think bad or dangerous or to avoid it. But imagine I told you two people each borrowed $20,000. Would you automatically assume they made the same financial decision? Of course not. One person used that $20,000 to buy designer bags, furniture, and a vacation. The other person used it to buy cash flowing businesses. Same amount of debt, completely different outcome. So maybe the question isn't how much debt do you have? Maybe the better question is, what did the debt buy? Because debt is just a tool. A hammer can build a house or it can break a window. The hammer isn't good or bad. The person using it decides what happens. Debt works the exact same way. Think about the average person. Most debt is used to buy things that lose value, including cars, clothes, phones, furniture, vacations. And then every month they wake up to have to work to make another payment. Of course, debt feels stressful. It takes money out of their pocket every single month. Now compare that to how investors think. They ask completely different questions. Instead of asking, what can I buy? They ask, what can I control? When I bought my first house at 22, people looked at me like I had just signed up for 30 years of stress. You have a mortgage. That's so much debt. But I didn't see a mortgage. I saw ownership. I saw leverage. I saw an asset. See, I didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in my bank account. I was a nurse. There was no way I was paying cash for that house. But because I understood how mortgages worked, I was able to control an asset that was far worth more than the actual cash I actually had. That's when everything clicked for me. The debt wasn't making me poorer. The asset had the potential to make me wealthier. Now, let me ask you something. Let's say two people want to buy the exact same $300,000 house. One person says, I don't believe in debt. I'll wait until I have $300,000 saved. Sounds responsible, right? But what if that takes them 15 years? Now compare that to someone who buys a house today using a mortgage, who had 15 more years for that property to appreciate, who had 15 more years to build equity, who had 15 more years letting time work for them. The person who understood leverage, and this is where people miss it. Time is often more valuable than cash. The same thing happened in my box truck business. I could have said, I'm going to wait until I save enough money to buy everything in cash. Nothing wrong with that. But while I'm saving, someone else already has their truck on the road, already has a driver, already has loads, already has revenue coming in. The debt didn't create the wealth. The business did. The debt simply gave them access to the business sooner. That's a completely different way to think about money. Now, before somebody hears this and says, so you're telling everyone to go get loans? No, I'm not. Because there's a big difference between consumer debt and asset debt. Consumer debt usually buys things that take money out of your pocket. Asset debt helps you acquire things that have the potential to put money back into your pocket. One buys liabilities, the other buys opportunities. Here's another realization that changed how I think. Poor people often focus on the monthly payment. Wealthy people focus on the return. Poor people ask, how much does this cost? Wealthy people ask, what does it produce? If something is going to cost me money every single month and I never make a dollar, I probably wouldn't be interested. But if something costs me money today and has the potential to make me money for years, now I'm paying attention because that's how investors think. That's how business owners think. That's how wealth builders think. Now, does every investment work? No, absolutely not. Some businesses fail. Some real estate deals fail. Some investments lose money. Risk is part of building wealth. So I'm not telling you to borrow recklessly. I'm telling you how to stop looking at debt by itself. Start looking at what debt is buying. because that's the conversation wealthy people are having. And I think this is where so many people get stuck. They spend their entire lives trying to eliminate debt instead of trying to build assets. And ironically, many wealthy people have millions of dollars of debt because they also have millions of dollars of assets. That's a complete different balance sheet than someone with debt and nothing to show for it. So here's what I want you to do this week. Instead of asking yourself, how do I get out of debt? Ask yourself, is this debt helping me own something? Or is it just helping me consume something? That one question has the potential to completely change the way you build wealth. Because the goal isn't to be debt-free. The goal is to be financially free. If you got value from this video, subscribe to my channel because every week we're challenging the way you've been taught to think about money, credit, real estate, businesses, and wealth. And I'll see you in the next video.